Surge Therapeutics, a clinical stage oncology company, says the final patient has been dosed in its phase 1 clinical study of its lead program in breast cancer patients undergoing surgery. Joining me now is Michael Goldberg. He is the CEO of Surge Therapeutics. Michael, welcome to NYSE Live.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So what is Surge Therapeutics and what led you to working on this company full time?
Thanks for asking. So Surge Therapeutics is the culmination of more than a quarter of a century of a commitment to contribute to a cure for cancer. I unfortunately lost my best friend to cancer, and I've been doing cancer research since I was 16 years old. This is my life's work. Now, it's really, really important because I've actually lost 3 additional friends, specifically to post-surgical cancer recurrence, since I left my faculty position at Harvard Medical School to focus full-time on improving how, when, and where cancer immunotherapy is deployed. Tragically, my experience is far from unique. There are 9 million cancer patients every single year who undergo surgical tumor resection. Approximately 40% of them will recur within 5 years, and 90% of cancer-related death is owing to recurrence and metastasis. Taken together, these numbers suggest that recurrence and metastasis are the single biggest unmet need in oncology. And by way of simple analogy, if you have a weed in your garden and you cut it, yes, superficially it looks like it's gone. But if you don't get at the root of the problem, what will happen? It'll return, it'll spread, and it will cover your garden. And I don't accept this, and neither does my team. We have a moral indignation against this disease. Surge is predicated on a motivation to create a world where nobody grieves the loss of a loved one to preventable post-surgical cancer recurrence. And so when my lab at Harvard developed this novel approach that you've described called intraoperative immunotherapy, I shared both the concept and the data with people who are much more intelligent than I am, and also who had a history of developing transformative therapeutics for patients. And they encouraged me to dedicate myself fully to Surge because they saw an opportunity here to fundamentally reimagine the standard of care for patients with solid tumors.
What is intraoperative immunotherapy and how is it different from immunotherapy that is typically delivered today?
Yeah, so intraoperative immunotherapy is unique in that the goal is to deliver these immunomodulatory drugs at the site and at the time of surgery. Now, this is in contrast to traditional approaches, which would involve systemic administration, meaning throughout the body, and being done typically weeks before or after surgery. So local administration has 2 key advantages. The first is the opportunity to reduce systemic side effects. The second, which is probably more important, is the potential to increase the effective concentration of the drug where you want it, right? And so fundamentally, there are 4 times that a cancer patient gets medicine. Before surgery, maybe a couple cycles to try to shrink the tumor, make it easier for the surgeon to remove. Surgery, number 2, we'll come back to. Number 3, after surgery, maybe a few weeks later after the patient is healed, they'll get medicine, but the residual disease may have had an opportunity to develop strategies to evade the immune system. And finally, 4th, which is where most oncology drugs are developed, the metastatic setting, once the disease has already spread. Now, this is very, very challenging clinically because there are lots of cancer cells, there is a dysfunctional immune system, and there's what we call a concentrated immunosuppressive microenvironment, meaning there's kind of this like molecular and cellular fortress. That's hard. You could ask a 10-year-old, right? Would you rather treat a cancer patient who has billions of cancer cells in their body or a few thousand stragglers left behind post-surgery, right? It's pretty obvious. Fewer cancer cells are going to be easier to treat. And it's not just theory, it's practice. So there's clinical evidence that shows that it's much easier for the immune system to clear minimal residual disease than it is to treat advanced macroscopic disease.
And why do you feel that the moment of surgery is an underutilized opportunity to engage the immune system?
Yeah, so surgery is a very, very opportune time, as you've noted. And it's actually the standard of care for every major solid tumor, right? Lung, breast, colorectal, prostate, kidney, liver, ovarian, you name it, it's surgery. But what does the intervention look like today? The surgeon goes in, she or he cuts out the tumor and then does what? Sutures up the patient and sends them home. This makes no sense to me. Does that make sense to you? We have access to exactly the right place at exactly the right time. We're leaving it empty. Wouldn't it be preferable to give immunotherapy in a hydrogel in that space so we can concentrate and retain it right then and right there? And so that's what we're seeking to do. It seems like a huge missed opportunity. And if we remember one thing from this conversation alone, for me, I hope it will be the following. Surgical oncology today is a physical intervention only. We believe that it should and can be a therapeutic intervention as well.
All right, Michael Goldberg, CEO of Surge Therapeutics. Thank you for your tremendous work, and thank you for joining us on NYSE Live.
Thank you so much for having me.